welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Saturday. It is the weekly energy card reading, and what that is you, the viewer, get to choose from one of three tarot or oracle decks, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do a quick spread to see how the next 7 days will kind of unfold energetically. It does not need to be the week of December 12th through the 19th, 2020 in order for the messages to resonate. If you come across this video at any time, there might be messages contained for you. I also, I every time I read cards, I think of it as dream interpretation. I like to look at the symbols and just see in a general context what I think they mean. But there is definitely a saying in card reading. We say, take what resonates and leave the rest. So if you feel like just a few nuggets of information speak to you, then that's wonderful. That's exactly what we're here for. And again, we don't ever have to take these messages too seriously. I also really encourage my watchers to look at the cards. I host a weekly series called the How to Tarot every Tuesday, that if you are interested in learning about the tarot, or if you see a card that is kind of predominant in your read, that really has a strong energy or a strong focus, like almost like a keynote, that you can go back through my playlist and check out the How to Tarot for it, because it really does have a lot of meaning, and what you can do is kind of express, kind of look into the energy of that card or that expression of energy further. But at any time, if you want to jump straight to your reading, the timestamps are in the description box below, as are the names and the authors of the decks that I use. Today I'm going to be clarifying using a deck that I've had for a very long time. It's very Lenormand based, and we'll talk about that when we get into the deck description. But it is the Fairy Tale Fortune cards by Liz Dean. And we'll talk about them more before we get into the read. But again, if you want to jump straight to the card reading or to the deck selection, all of the timestamps, there are hyperlinks in the description box. Feel free to click on it if you want to skip the introduction. Now, before we get started, I did want to touch back. This last Tuesday, I posted the How to Tarot on the Queen of Swords, and I really resonate with that card so much. If you watch that video, the second deck is actually my significator, which is in tarot, anytime you find a card that you feel like represents you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a court card, it doesn't have to be a king, queen, page, knight. It can be a major arcana, or it can be a minor. It can be really any of the 78 cards that you think represents you. And it's interesting as you get into card reading, if you have oracle decks or if you have tarot decks, sometimes it doesn't even have to be like a really big important card. I know a lot of people believe that, okay, I resonate with the star, I resonate with the Wheel of Fortune. I know quite a few people who kind of resonate with the real minor cards, like the Four of Swords, and it also, there's different variances depending on the artwork and the different decks. So actually this week I decided to go with 3 decks we haven't seen in a while, and I was actually inspired to do that after rewatching the tarot deck review that I did. I was asked by a watcher to do a deck review, and it was really interesting. I knew that I had quite a few tarot decks, but it was really nice to go over what made each of the decks special. And so the 3 decks that I chose, definitely I wanted to keep in rotation, and so I'm bringing them back out. Now, I am going to be doing a video. I have about 5 Lenormand, Gypsy, and Kipper decks, which are all kind of a same kind of theme of deck. And I'm going to be doing a overview of them. I will be putting out a video about that. Also, in the next week, after the How to Tarot on Tuesday, we're going to be completing the sword suit with the King of Swords. So this upcoming Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the King of Swords and How to Tarot. And then after that, on December 16th, I'm going to be doing a special reading that is going to be part deck review and part reading. I kind of did the same thing last week when I did the dice review. I'm going to do the same thing. What it is December 16th is Jane Austen's birthday. And if you are a follower of my channel, I am an English major and I am a literature nut. And I love, 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 love me some Jane Austen. I did do a reading last year with three piles. That was, what is your Jane Austen love story? I'm going to do something similar this year. But what I'm going to do is, just like the dice reading, I'm going to make the first part of the video the deck reviews. I have about four Jane Austen decks, and then I'm going to use those decks to do your piles. So it will be like a traditional, and it is going to be love related because it's Jane. But look forward to, if you get a chance to check that out. That's coming up next week on December 16th in honor of Jane Austen's birthday. Now, real quick, one last announcement is I did want to touch back a little bit on the How to Tarot. I'm sorry, I got away from it. Now I'm coming, circling back to it. Is the How to Tarot and the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is very much my significator. I relate to her in so many ways. I'm a sun sign, air sign, and I have a stellium in Libra, including a conjunct in Pluto, and then a rising in Scorpio, which is like, it's an entire kind of splay of planets. It's a connection of the different energies in my own chart. But one thing that I always look back on the How to Tarot and think, oh God, I forgot to say this. I left out this important piece of information. And even though the How to Tarots are long as all get out. But real quick, I wanted to interject. The Queen of Swords, one of the nurturing characteristics of her, because, we were talking about, I felt like we talked a lot about her as a woman, which is important, and that's typically how she's read in a read, but I wanted to kind of reiterate some of her strong motherly characteristics. And the Queen of Swords as a mother is very strong. She's very strong. I know she looks so fierce when you see her in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, or in any deck, really. But a few of the characteristics that I wanted to just really stress with the Queen of Swords as a mother, she is very nurturing when it comes to learning. She's one of those mothers who really, it's interesting, a long time ago, I think it's several decades now, if you'd go to the library, they had a marketing campaign that said they'd have posters with famous celebrities. I actually have the poster of Twilight that says it, but it would say read. And it said, it'd show one person reading to another person. And it would always say, like, read to your baby, or, read to your love. And there's, psychologically, it is so proven that that parents who read to their children, and honestly, in this day and age, parents who do not engage in electronic devices, like, really, if you don't if someone's like from the age of 2 to 5, if you do not give them a tablet or a cell phone to entertain them, if you actually open up a book and read to them, that the sound of a mother's voice, and the sound of and the learning that comes along with reading this written word, it develops a child so much, and it really does have an intellectual connection. And I know, looking at the Queen of Swords card, you think, okay, gosh, she's so cerebral, it seems so frosty and cold. But that is one way that she nurtures big time, is that she cares about the way that you understand things. And she's also the mother who, in early childhood psychology, she's the one who gets down on her knees to be on the same level as her child and to explain things in a way that they understand. Like, her goal is to open up your mind and to really give the world to you. The other thing is, she is really big on literature, and I can't tell you, I know in this generation we don't read as much as we did in the past, but if you talk to the boomer generation, if you talk to the golden generation, listening to the radio and reading books, really the stories there. And I know older stories seem so kind of entrenched in the language. It seems too kind of thick and stodgy. But one beautiful thing is, one analogy that I kind of think of is, if you've ever seen the movie Tolkien, which is about J.R.R. Tolkien, who's the author of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, there was a biopic that was done, and it was, it was very embellished. It was given a plot, to make it entertaining, but it's a true story that his mother taught him Latin, the language of Latin, at the time he was like 3 to 5. And J.R.R. Tolkien had a lot of Gemini in his chart. I don't know his mother's chart, but sadly, it's so sad. He lost his father. He was really orphaned at a young age. I think he was 12. And his mother, which is also a very Libra thing, actually. Libras really like sweets. We're really, and I can attest to this. I like chocolate, but unfortunately, we are the kind of the depending, and you can look at an astrological chart and kind of predict this, but sometimes that can predetermine you to certain forms of sugar overload, and sadly, his Tolkien's mom, seems like such a sweet soul. She did die at the age of 34. It was 1904. It was the turn of the century, but she died from a sugar kind of deficient overbalance in her system, and they suspect that she was type 1 diabetic, which is common, and it's sad. It's very sad, but it's common of women in their early 30s to be kind of at the apex of that disease. And but unfortunately, it was a good 18 years. Insulin was not discovered until 1921. So unfortunately, J.R.R. Tolkien became an orphan at a very young age, and he didn't have a lot of money, so he kind of had to make his own way. But what I love about that story is that she read stories to him, and she told stories to him, and she taught him languages, and she opened up his mind, and that's what I feel like a Queen of Swords mother does. She also knows the stories that help you, like it's funny, so many people are afraid to go up against her or challenge her because she has opinions, but she has opinions based on a lot of information. Like, the opinions that she holds are so grounded in the information that she's attained. It's hard to contest her because she's got an emotional basis in what she believes to be true. But when it comes to children, or it comes to nurturing others, it doesn't even have to be your own children, because we talked about the Queen of Swords being a good aunt as well. She knows the stories to tell a young one to open up their mind, to help them learn. And the other thing is, she cares about how they understand information. She conveys, remember, the clouds part in her presence, and it seems like she knows everything, and not in a bad way, but she knows how to get you excited about something. So I could definitely see that as being the mom who turns off the TV and reads Harry Potter to you, or she always knows the story. I remember when I was growing up, you know how all kids go through that phase where they're like, well, I'm just going to live on my own. I'm going to go run away and build a house in the forest. And there was a great book, and it's really for the age, it's for like the reading age of the ages 9 to probably like 11, and it's called From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. And it talks about two kids that run away and live in a museum. And what I love about that book is that it doesn't glamorize like running away. It's not encouraging that. It talks about how they have to take baths in the fountain, and how they have to gather up all of the money in the fountain in order to go to the laundromat and wash their clothes. It's really kind of like a wake-up call to say, okay, running away is not all it's trumped up to be, but it's also a really exciting adventure. So it's kind of like that, she goes with the tide of what a child is thinking, and she knows the stories to tell them to open up their mind and let the decisions be their own decisions. And the beautiful thing about that is that's what stories do. Stories let us live vicariously without having to take any of the risks, but it lets you feel all the ups and downs and the joys. And that is definitely a Queen of Swords concept. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I know we didn't talk so much about, the kind of the more warm and fuzzy, and there is warm and fuzzy with her. She's not all, she's not all cold steel and and frosty glances. The other thing that, we talked about is that when you look at her eyes, yes, she is seeing through you, but sometimes that can be an indicator someone has really clear eyes, like really pretty ones, ones that you can kind of get lost in. So that definitely is a more romantic kind of sense when you're talking about the Queen of Swords. All right, but enough blabbing. That was a long intro. I'm sorry. Again, at any time, skip to your reading by the timestamp. But we've got 3 decks here. We haven't seen these decks in a while. The first deck is the Tarot of the Southwest Sacred Tribes, and with it we have a beautiful red jasper stone. It's a little bit of a gradient. It's called a fire jasper, and gosh, I get such a good energy from this. I love the creams and the reds and the oranges. I feel like it goes so well. The second deck is the Everyday Tarot by Brigit Esselmont. She's also known as Biddy Tarot. And with it, we have a beautiful citrine. And citrine is so good. It's about abundance and it's about money. The third deck, we have the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. And I so love Lacey Bryant. If you get a chance, please check out her Instagram. It is Lacey, Lacey, and then Bryant is Bryante. I'm sorry, Bryant. And her name is in the description box, but she posts her artwork and it's just amazing. She's a Southern California artist and her work is just amazing. And with it, we have a beautiful bloodstone. And and it's really beautiful. It has kind of a green side and a kind of a really warm brown side, and that is a lot about cleansing deep emotions and deep feelings. And last but not least, we have a deck that I've had for a really long time. This is a real Lenormand-based kind of deck, and we will be going over this when I go over my Lenormand and Kipper Gypsy cards. But this is a deck called the Fairy Tale Fortune Cards by Liz Dean. And honestly, this is my very first Oracle deck that I ever bought. And on top of it, we have an Amazonite. So I'll go ahead and give you a freeze frame. If you need more time, please pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. I'm going to go ahead and move up the other decks. I feel like this week is going to be real exciting. If you're in North America and, whatever holiday you celebrate, I think it's coming to the end of the year, and it's been quite a year, and I think it's going to be really I'm seeing the Page of Wands. All right, so deck number 1. What's your week going to be like? Let's find out. Deck number 1. Ooh, thank you. Oh, nice. Middle of the week. Let me shuffle again. Middle of the week, please. Oh, gosh. Okay. I had like a whole stack kind of flip here. Let me make sure that everything's facing the right way. Oh, wow. I got them all in different... Wow, I don't know how I did that. Okay, future, please. Okay, end of the week. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take these together. I'm being real drawn to take them together. And the Fool, please. Ooh, you got the Grand Poobah. You got the Grand Poobah. Okay, the Ace of Cups is trying to pop out. All right, let's go ahead and get your... Whoa. You saw that, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take both. Alright guys, so wow, this is some really beautiful energy. It's really strong. So what I'm kind of seeing here is in the beginning of the week, you're going to feel really like, it's going to feel like a little bit of a party. It's going to feel a little bit like a graduation party. Maybe you are, I'm getting the sense that, and especially this time of year, like right around the beginning of the week, it would be right around the 14th. And when you think about it, if you celebrate Christmas, it would be the start of the 12 days of Christmas, right? And what I'm kind of getting here is that I'm feeling like the completion of a year. Maybe you work in a job where you're wrapping up some kind of, like, if you work in sales or something like that, maybe it is kind of the wrap up of your year. I know that, certain professions, by the time you get a week out, 10 days out from Christmas, a lot of people are gone for the holidays, or, excuse me, that, things are just starting to quiet down. So the other thing is that right around this time you see a lot of Christmas parties, just because, of course, people are going off for holiday vacation. Um, and this is kind of the last time to get together with your work colleagues. The other thing is that I can see it being kind of a celebration time of the accomplishments for the year. So I'm kind of getting a sense, definitely at the beginning of the week, there might be some kind of, and it could be virtual. Because the other thing that I get is I'm really seeing that, in this image particularly, you see what looks like an Adobe on a small scale. It almost looks like a model, but then you've got the four wands kind of tying together. And what's beautiful about this is that there's something called the red string of fate. And oh, this is so interesting. I'm actually wearing the ring that talks about that. The red string of fate is, you can Google it here on YouTube. There's quite a few videos that talk about it. I just think of that. I don't have a person in mind when I wear this ring, but what it is it talks about being connected through your soul tribe, through the ether, kind of like through the 5D. And that's what I'm getting here. I also do see the two envelopes here, so I do think of emails or possibly Zoom calls. So yeah, definitely, I'm getting a strong vibe that there's going to be like communication, or maybe some FaceTime that's going to be celebrating the accomplishments of the year. Again, maybe you met your quota. Maybe, you're wrapping up the last of your, sales cases for the year, or, you're putting in the last of the work before everyone starts to take their vacation, or, things start to quiet down before the new year. Either that, or it could be some recognition that you're getting. The other thing is that this might be some family events. I do know that I hear this all the time, especially around this time of year. I am getting definitely more of a work vibe. Just because in the tarot, whenever you see a city, it means civilization, and that usually means work. The other thing is that I'm almost seeing like the peers of several teams. So I get the sense that this might be recognition, or some kind of honor that's bestowed upon you for work that you've done up until now, by your fellow peers. So this could be a higher up. I'm getting equal, right? I'm getting equal. One last way that I can read it is that the Four Wands does talk about partners in like a soul sense. It's the 1111 card, and because there's one email here, and one letter here, one envelope here, one envelope there, you might feel really connected to someone. Again, you might be exchanging some messages with your love. Maybe someone who's, again, this time of year we're still social distancing, so maybe there's some kind of exchange that makes you feel really connected. But I definitely feel like it's either email, direct messages, or, but this is the graduation card, so I feel like you might be getting some pats on the back, or some kind of recognition for a job well done. And I really get the sense that it's like the culmination from either the month or the year. And the reason that it's coming in the third week of December is because it's the week before the holidays, and everyone's about, it's about to be a ghost town. So I don't think that, if this is work related, I don't think that you're in a profession that is gets busy over the holidays. I think it gets quiet, and what you do is you meet your quota before the holidays. Now, in the middle of the week, you got some really amazing energy here, guys. You got the Fool, and this one really flipped out, and you got the King of Wands. And the King of Wands, I always call this the Grand Poobah card because he really does. He looks like a King of Wands. But the Fool, with the feather, I get the sense that by the middle of the week, you feel really strong if this is your energy. If this is your energy, you just feel really strong. The other thing is that I get this sense of like limitless potential. The other thing that I get is that you're kind of after a graduation card, it's kind of like a plateau is what I'm hearing. The moment that you graduate from something, you might be kind of getting you might be looking towards the next thing. And I know that sounds crazy, but the King of Wands is a real ambitious energy. And he's like that. He's the experienced king of action and spirit, like, and it could be creative. It could be a creative project, but I am almost getting like it's a work, or you're getting excited about what's coming next. And the crazy thing that I get from this is that it's almost like just yesterday, you got the praises, you got the pat on the back, congratulations, you met your quota, you're doing great. And then by Wednesday, Thursday, you're like, what's the next big thing I want to go for, right? Because that's the King of Wands energy. He's had many victories in the past. That's why he's the Grand Poobah, right? And he's excited. It's almost like he wants to. The other thing that I kind of get is that you're eager for the next excitement, right? Um, the one thing that's, if you get a chance, check out the How to Tarot on the King of Wands, because we talked about how he's being the mature masculine. He's had a lot of experiences, like he's done the daredevil stuff, and he's had a few wily coyote falls. But what it is that what I'm thinking when I see this card is that he's the one who he mellows in his old age. He's had a lot of experiences, and I kind of call it the arthritis card. Okay, yeah, he chooses his projects, right? So the other thing that I kind of get from this is that maybe in the beginning of the week you really are wrapping up your quota, but you really, by the middle of the week, you're kind of jonesing to do something new. And I see this. It's almost like your fire is coming out. It's like, okay, yes, I can sit on the throne. I can rule. I've had plenty of victories in the past where I don't have to do anything, but I want something exciting. I get the sense that you want to do something new and exciting now that you've graduated. And this is very impulsive. That's the other thing I'm kind of smiling, is because not, the beginning of the week you're like, congratulations, you've met this milestone, you're good to go. And then by the middle of the week you're always like, what's the next thrill? What's next, right? Bring it on. And that's your energy. I'm feeling a really hot, dry kind of firecracker energy. And because it's the mature masculine, you've maybe this is the thrill. I'm hearing thrill of the hunt. Maybe you really do enjoy, if you the type of, and this is wonderful, if you enjoy the type of job where you're ready for the next quota, you're ready for the next quarter. That's wonderful energy. That's a good expression for you. But whether you're a man or a woman, I do feel like this is your energy. The other thing that I kind of get is that it's possible that you could be, if you're a woman, and you might be approached by a King of Wands who really wants a really passionate new start with you. And they might be coming in like no BS. Like they'll come up to you and be like, hey, I know it's, I've had my eye on you, and I would you like to go out for coffee sometime? That's entirely possible. The other thing that I kind of get is that, if this is your energy, these two emails, you might have been emailing back and forth with someone, and your energy was really mirroring each other. The other thing that I kind of get is that you might have really been attracting this energy. And so with your emails, back and forth, you were feeling a real connection. Remember the red thread of fate. And then by the middle of the week, the person showing up, like, I don't think this person will show up at your house, but they're showing up in the the simile kind of way where they, where they'll call you or they'll contact you, and they're going to be very forthright because, again, the King of Wands, he knows what he wants. He knows what he desires, and he always gets what he wants. But, not to intimidate you, but the person's going to step up. He's going to step up and say, he or she, it can be a woman in this energy, but they'll approach you and really want something new. Either that, or I am getting that this might be your energy, that you might be starting off on a new path, like really looking forward to getting excited about something new. But you're going to be expressing that in your experienced energy. You've been through these cycles before, but you want something fresh and exciting, right? Now, by the end of the week, we've got some interesting energy. And I'm really amazed how these cards kind of fell, because I never really throw cards like this. I usually put them in a straight line. And what I'm kind of seeing is, if you can see this, if you see that, I have one card here and then the two it's like Lincoln Logs. They're like connecting. What I'm kind of seeing here is, I'm going to come out and say, guys, this is an interesting energy. The other thing is you have two major arcanas in this, and you got a 10, which is completion. I am seeing a lot of completion here, guys, because the Four of Wands is like a graduation, and it's like the cornerstones. You accomplish something. You've laid the foundation of something. And then by the end of the week, you've got the 10 of Pentacles. Now, this 10 of Pentacles does depict a family. It shows, a husband and wife and a little one. But what I'm kind of seeing here, and I'm going to go with my first impression of these cards. By the end of the week, you might have some family obligations. The other thing is that maybe after all of the celebration this week, you might be spending time with your family. I definitely feel like there's going to be family members around you by the end of the week. Now, what's interesting here is that I always say, when it's the bottom card, I think of it as the root, and then the top card, I think of a root, a stem, and a bloom. And the bloom is usually, the very top card is the outward expression, like what people passing you on the street would see, like the actual how you're going to be acting or what's going to be happening, And the root is kind of the almost like the root of a lotus flower. It's what's under the mud. It's what's hidden. That's resulting in this energy. So it's like the root of the situation. And what I'm seeing here is that I do think that you'll be spending time with family. It's possible that you might be spending time with your family if you have a wife and a little one. If you are a woman, it could be, you could be spending time with in-laws or something like that. And there's definitely, I'm sensing a little one around. Now, what's happening is that I kind of see, now the Seven of Swords is the Seven of Swords always gets a bad rap, and if you get a chance, you can always watch the How to Tarot on him. He's a controversial character. But what you kind of see is, what the sense I'm getting is that you're going to be around your family, and I think that you love being around your family, but underneath the surface, there is some feelings of disagreements, if that's a word. Underneath the surface, it's almost like you put up kind of a front. There's kind of a faceplate here, and that happens a lot with family dynamics. This would be right around the end of the 19th, so it's quite possible that maybe you're traveling to, the beginning of the week, you might be actually traveling to go to other people's houses. I know a lot of people are trying to be very careful this holiday season and not congregate too much. But if this is someone that you're quarantined with, that you've been quarantined with, then it's, no harm, no foul. But what I'm kind of getting is that it's almost like in the end of the week, you're getting back around your clan or your unit, and there's kind of a feeling like you kind of want to get away a little bit. And what I'm seeing here is that I am getting a strong sense that maybe there's a little bit of the Hierophant is a very strong spiritual teacher. He's a mentor. So it's possible that maybe you're around somebody in your family that is a mentor to you, that's someone who directs or helps guide you. The other thing that I kind of get is that one other way I read it is because the Hierophant is kind of is you being the example. Like it's that would be when you think about it, the Hierophant is like the Pope or the priest, right? Who is the example of godliness. But the Seven of Swords is that hidden kind of, I want to sneak away. I don't believe what you believe. I want to do my own thing. But I kind of read this one of two ways. You could be around a family member that kind of has a strong grip on your belief system, because we talked about this a little bit in the Seven of Swords. Sometimes that can be an environment that you were raised in that expects a certain behavior from you, and that might not be the behavior that you want to exhibit. You might believe something different, but you're restricted. It's almost like you have to put on a false mask to go along with your family values. So that's one way I read it. You might be in the presence of someone who really kind of has that influence on you, and you feel like you have to kind of hide. And I do get the sense this is in some kind of family context. The other way that I kind of read it is that I sense that maybe when you're around your family, you kind of have a hidden desire to maybe sneak away or to conceal things, but you rise above it. That's the other thing I see, is because I see the Hierophant as being a pinnacle of good behavior, and the Seven of Swords is hidden dishonor. It's someone who wants to sneak away and not get any. So I feel like you might have a little bit of choice here. The other thing is you might be teeter-tottering between the two. Might be 1 minute that you're kind of, I am kind of hearing putting up with family, and then, but there's other moments that you kind of want to sneak away and be by yourself, maybe just to have some quiet or have some peace, or to be in your own mind, in your own opinions. But I do see the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is, if you get a chance, if you really want more information about it, please check out the How to Tarot, because we talked a lot about that. He's not a completely bad card, but he's someone who hides their true intentions, but there's usually a reason for that. Usually it's because they can't show what they really feel for some reason. The other thing is that the other thing that I kind of get is that maybe your family is helping to teach you some spiritual lessons. Maybe they really are helping you to get out of a Seven of Swords energy. And, over the weekend, being around them or talking to your family. The other thing that I kind of get is that I learn, it's funny, when I have a conversation with my sister or I have a conversation with my mom, I can be in a really bad funky mood, and something they say, something they share with me about their journey in life or something they experience really just makes me feel so much lighter, right? It enlightens me. The other thing is that maybe you are going through some kind of challenge, and your family really kind of makes you feel better, or they help you see the higher meaning, the higher purpose of this challenge, or what it is that you want to run away from. The other thing that I kind of get is that it's quite possible that feel you might feel a little, because the other thing is that the Hierophant definitely rules marriage. So, but yeah, I'm getting more of kind of like a spiritual mentor. Either that, or you're feeling a little bit more enlightened. You're elevating past this low vibrational energy. Now, what's really kind of interesting, guys, is you got two cards here. You got the book that contains a secret. Other cards reveal its nature. And then you got the stork, which is time to travel and make changes. Now, the stork can relate to family, and as you see, you do see a little one here. So, I am seeing a synchronicity there with family. So, it's quite possible that you might, maybe over the weekend, you learn about a family member who has a little one or who's pregnant and is about to make changes, that, changes are coming, I also see, the book as something revealed. Um, the other thing that I kind of see is that I do see the book and the Hierophant, as being enlightenment, as being like kind of a soul teacher. Um, but the other thing that I can kind of see is that maybe, again, with the Fool being here and the Stork being here, that's new. That's new. That's new. That's like movement. So the other thing that I get is that if there was any information that needed to be revealed to you, you're going to know by the end of the week. And you know, the other thing that I kind of get is that the book reveals a secret, and the Seven of Swords is about being clandestine. So maybe you do reveal something to your family. Um, and it makes you feel empowered. Maybe you're sharing your plans, because clearly you have plans. You've completed a cycle and you have your eye on the future and you're excited about it. And the Stork, time to make travel and make changes. It's quite possible you might be approaching your family, and telling them that you want to make changes. The other thing that I get is the Seven follows the Six of Swords. So you might very well be coming kind of out of, you might have been kind of hidden in your emotions, and you finally come out and tell your family, okay, I'm moving out, or I'm changing jobs, or I'm moving to another state. This is what I want to do. You might be doing that towards the end of the week, and it just makes you feel it makes you feel light, right? It feels like advancement to you. But it does. And actually, with the book, there's several books in this image, but normally on the regular Lenormand cards, whichever way the book is facing, usually talks about what is exposed. But I do think that the Stork, or time to make changes, and it could be related to a family member. Again, you either might have a family member telling you that they're expecting, or you might be excited about new projects that you have, or possibly a move, and you're going to be telling your family. And I feel like this has been hidden for some time, almost like you were waiting to complete your cycles before. But this also could be three different events. The beginning of the week might be like Christmas party and rewards. Middle of the week might be you planning for the future. Either that, or this could be romantic, where you're communicating like with a twin flame, and someone really kind of approaches you in the middle of the week. And then by the end of the week, they're communicating to their family about the new changes, or you're communicating to your family. But wow, guys, that's a really good week. Honestly, this is really good energy. Don't be scared by the Seven of Swords. In this context, I really feel like it's something that you've wanted to say that's finally coming to light, and it's going to feel very liberating. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and move to the second deck, the Everyday Tarot by Brigit Esselmont, who is also known as Biddy Tarot. So let's go ahead and see deck number 2. What's your energy for the week? So deck number 2. You see this card was sticking out? Okay, middle of the week. Ooh, please clarify, thank you. Okay, please clarify the Three of Swords. Okay, end of the week. End of the week. Okay, here I'm going to shuffle a little bit more here. End of the week, please. If we don't get a flyer in a minute, I'm going to cut the deck. All right, end of the week, please. Oh, thank you. Okay, all right. And since we got 2 cards for everything else, one more please. Please clarify the Page of Cups. Please clarify the page. Wow. That's the second time that we've gotten the Hierophant in the 3rd position. So again, we might have a few cross watchers. But go ahead and see what's the energy. Oh. Oh, nice. Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just go with 2 cards for every single read because everybody. All right, guys. So beginning of the week, this is really interesting energy. Okay, so first off, if this is your energy, and again, you can be a man or a woman manifesting as a king. You can be a man manifesting as a queen. That usually just means that you're more in your feels. You're more exhibiting the more what you're feeling emotionally. And you can be a woman manifesting as a king, which means that you're just kind of taking care of business, and you're more in you're more in the yang energy. You're more in the doing than in the receiving kind of energy. It's kind of like a conduit. But beginning of the week, I kind of read this one of 2 ways. If this is your energy, I feel like you're really caught up in your mind, and it's almost causing, like, what I'm kind of seeing is like, I'm seeing that, so above, the bloom of what the world is seeing is the King of Pentacles. And what I'm really being drawn to is that gold chain around his neck. I'm thinking about, how celebrities have, they have the big gold necklaces that are encrusted in diamonds, and it's like a sign of their affluence. It's a sign of their power. I'm a child of the 80s. I love Mr. T, but I loved how Mr. T from A-Team, he had like 20 gold necklaces. But it's a sign of affluence, right? It's a sign of having money. But below it, you have the King of Swords in reverse. And this is really interesting, guys, because we're about to How to Tarot for the King coming up this in a few days on Tuesday. So if you're watching this video a little bit later, feel free to check out the How to Tarot for the King in reverse, because that's going to be real important to kind of understand this energy. But if this is you, what I'm kind of getting is, I feel like the world is, from the outside looking in, you look like you have it all. Like, you look like you have the gold chains, you have the gold, the diamond encrusted. You look really, really well off. And I think that is the projection that you want to have. Like, the other thing that when you think about pentacles, it's pentacles are what you value, right? They're what's physically virtuous, and that can be money, it can be cars, it can be houses, but a lot of times, and it's interesting, if you look on, it's funny. I was watching. I caught myself, like, the suggestions. The algorithm of YouTube is really quite interesting. It's amazing how all the social media networks have an algorithm of what content it shows you, and Instagram has it, and when you're shopping on Amazon, I see that you viewed this, so let me show you that. What I was watching the other day was, I came across a video that we were talking about the MTV's Cribs, which really, it's funny how it evolved. We were always in the 80s and in the late 90s and early aughts, we were really fascinated with the way, and we're to this day, we're fascinated with the way celebrities spend money. That's why we look at the Queen and the Queen of England. We look at all the jewels and we think, oh gosh, their life must be wonderful. But what I kind of get with this is that when you have the King of Swords in reverse, the King of Swords in reverse is really in a mental gridlock. The King of Swords in reverse is really that obsessing kind of, or worrying, right? It's also controlling. So, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but what I'm seeing here is that I think that you care a lot about how you're perceived. And from the other thing that I kind of get is that, and my point with going off on that tangent, I'm sorry, YouTube was what offered me a video that talked about Cribs, like MTV Cribs, which was that TV show where you'd walk through the houses, mostly music celebrities, their houses, their mansions, right? And it was interesting, and it talked about 7 episodes of Cribs that were completely fabricated. Like most of the persons in that were displayed in that video either lost the mansion due to bankruptcy, or it was a rented property. All the cars were rented, and it actually points out in the video where you can see on the license plate, okay, that, that's not, that was a leased kind of vehicle for the day. And that's kind of what I think of. I get a strong sense that for some reason in the beginning of the week, you're going to be really, really, almost in an unhealthy way, preoccupied with how you look. And it's almost like from the outside, everyone thinks that you have it all. Because again, I'm looking at that necklace and I'm thinking like a gold chain, like a famous musician, or like a musician that had their 15 minutes of fame. And it's like, the other thing is that I see it as a little bit of I do see it as a little bit of a defense mechanism, because it's kind of like, don't challenge me. I've got this gold around my neck. I've got more money. I can buy and sell you, that kind of feeling. And that's what I'm kind of getting with the King of Swords in reverse. It's almost like I am almost getting a sense that you might be kind of, and with the fact that these are both kings, and if you are a woman watching this, when you, and I know this sounds crazy, we talked about over Thanksgiving when we did the Oracle read, we talked about how, male birds are the pretty ones, right? Because they're the ones that attract females with their prowess, with their bright colors and their plumage, right? Like male peacocks are the ones that can fan. Male turkeys are the ones that totally do the, like the, And it was interesting. I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and there's a form of vulture that when his feathers scrunch up, it almost looks like he has 2 pairs of eyes, his real eyes, and the way that his feathers ruffle up, it looks like a pair of closed eyes, and they're big, right? And so a male's personification, his presence, does 2 things. First off, yes, it does attract females. It's like, okay, look at how much plumage I have. I'm virile. I'm virile. I'm virile. I can make plenty of babies. Is what it's saying. I'm sorry, not to get so mature. I don't know where we took a turn here. Sorry, guys. But the other thing that it also does is it also does intimidate other men. And I feel like sometimes with that, all that, money, that's what your goal is. But here, if you are a man watching this, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of jockeying here. I don't know if something's going on in the beginning of the week where you're going to be kind of going up against an adversary where you are completely, what I'm getting is that you're completely obsessed with the way that you appear. You want to appear powerful. You want to appear like you have a lot of money, and you don't want anybody questioning you. But the other thing that I get is that I feel like you're really, really afraid, or like it's like analysis paralysis. Do I have enough? Do I look like I have enough? And it feels like some kind of competition thing. Now, if you're a woman in this energy, you might be encountering a man who's doing this. And actually, when we get to the middle of the week, we'll get to that in a minute. One other way that I read this is that you might be running into a person who's kind of showboating. And, but the other way that I kind of get this, and I hate to do it in such a negative way, but seriously, the King of Swords in reverse is very calculated. Like, he's got a game plan. So it is quite possible that you might be dealing with somebody who wants to make it look like they have it all, but that is a very calculated projection. Like, that is a show. somebody is putting on a show and they put a lot of mental effort. So the other thing that I kind of get from this, if you feel like somebody is either competing with you, okay, beginning of the week, one of three ways, because we do have a lot of people who watch these. So it's a general reading, and I have to kind of give you different scenarios here. I'm not trying to make it like, pick a ending here. If this is your energy, there's something that's going to be giving you really bad anxiety, where at the beginning of the week you really, really want your online social presence to look almost perfect. Like there's something really important to you, and it's a masculine energy. You could be man or female watching this, but you're coming across like one of those turkeys throwing out the feathers. I'm getting more of a competition, or kind of staking your claim. And it's almost like you want everyone to see you as being on top, as having the best money. I'm kind of seeing that as that picture where you just look perfect. You're wearing the diamond earrings, you're wearing the pretty necklace, your hair is perfect, you got all the pretty clothes on, you look flawless. But a lot of mental energy went into that, and I think there's some kind of anxiety or fear, or like overthinking about how you are perceived. Now I can say that the King of Pentacles in the upright is how you're perceived. You're perceived as like the King of Pentacles. You're pulling off this perception, but it's almost like underneath you feel like you're not, like you're not that person. I am getting a sense like you feel like you're kind of pushing, you're pushing your dominance. Now, the other way I kind of read this is, if you're a woman, you might be looking at some social media of a man who's very purposely trying to make you feel like, trying to really, he's throwing his weight around, where he might be posting pictures. He might be posting pictures of his car. He might be posting pictures of his clothes. There's definitely someone that's going to be... The other thing I kind of get is that they're trying to get attention. This is the other contradictory of this, because it's air and earth. It's like negative air and positive earth. The other thing I kind of get is that this person wants to look like they have it all. They want you to think that they have it all, but they want to showboat, but they want you to think that they're being modest about it. So this is the classic, okay, let me post this to make it look like I'm just casually sitting here in my linen pantsuit eating breakfast perfectly, when this other person or you totally kind of set that stage, and that's the perception that you wanted to perceive. Now, if it's your energy, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. But what I'm kind of seeing is that I think that you might be putting on a good front, and there might be a reason for that. And again, when we get to the middle of the week, I am kind of getting like there might be some breakup stuff going on. I'm getting that sense that, how when you start posting stuff, but these are kings. So the King of Pentacles is usually a very practical person. But the fact that the root of this is the King of Swords. The other thing is that I think that you're afraid of not being enough. So you feel like you have to push it. But that's the beginning of the week. So you either have somebody who's really trying to show off for you, and underneath the surface, they are really anxiety ridden, like they don't feel like they're enough. The other thing I'm getting is a lot of self-criticism. And the crazy thing is, on the outside, you really do look like you have it all. But again, that gold chain, it's almost like, this is my house, this is my cards. Look at what I got. Look at what I got. And that's kind of the energy at the beginning of the week. Now, beginning of the middle of the week, I don't want you to be afraid. There's no bad cards in tarot. But we got the Three of Swords. And of course, we always clarify the Three of Swords. And the root of it, you got the World, which is a major arcana, guys. You got two major arcanas and you got two kings. That's pretty wild. But now, the middle of the week, I don't want you to be afraid. There could be some separation from someone. There could be some separation. The other thing that I kind of get is that this might be a little social media warfare. I'm just going to warn you, because we got swords here and here. But All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it out here. I'm not meaning to laugh. The Three of Swords, we talked about in the How to Tarot. The Three Swords is like a sad situation is remaining in place because no one wants to pull the swords out, right? But what I'm seeing here is that this could be a separation from someone. But what I'm kind of getting is that you're going to be feeling a little bit sad, and it's going to feel like a little bit of a third party situation. um Quite honestly, this is entirely possible because right near the holiday season, this could be that you were dating two people, and one person is kind of winning out against the other. The other thing is that one person might be really stable and the other one seems a little vindictive. And what you might need to do is that, and it could be on your side, you might need to tell one person, okay, I'm not going to go out with you anymore. And then you might be telling someone that you're choosing one person over them. And that's part of the Three of Swords. It's not just you being betrayed. It could be that you have to deliver a really tough message to someone, and it's going to be painful for all people involved, right? It's one heart pierced by three swords. But what's really comforting about this is that you got the world underneath. So whatever this separation is, whatever this rain and this heartache, there's a higher purpose to it. The other thing that I get is that I don't think it's going to be heart wrenching. I really don't. I think that you're going to know in your heart of hearts that this is you completing a cycle. This is you doing what you got to do. Because the other thing we talked about, if you get a chance to watch the Three of Swords, is that sometimes you got to make the choice, right? You got to do what you got to do, and then moving forward, you're going to heal. And actually, I see this towards the end of the week. It's going to be a really good week. But and I think that whatever kind of you are going to have a few moments of a little bit of sadness, but you're going to know that there's a higher purpose to it. The other thing that I kind of get is that there are the four corners of the four fixed signs. So you're going to be okay. You're very grounded. I think whatever this blip of a little bit of sadness, you're going to be just fine. It might be a little granted, it might be a little bit of crying, but I don't think it's going to rip you up. Like I think the next day you're going to feel better. The other thing I kind of see with this combination is it might be that really good cry that kind of gets it all out, and then you just feel so much better the next day. It's like you just needed to get it out, right? Now, the other thing is that you might have somebody, the reason for this crying might be that somebody might be on the internet kind of, showing off pictures. And again, I'm getting a little bit of a jackass energy from this. Not in a bad way, but you might be dealing with someone who really is a little bit boisterous. Again, like look at what I got, look at what I got. And but I almost get the sense, there's a lot of anxiety underneath the surface of that. It's you know, I kind of think that, underneath all that feathers is a really small bird, not in a bad way, but, if somebody, the other thing I get is that someone might be trying to make you feel bad by showing off, and they're doing it in a real strategic way, but it's definitely calculated. But the other thing that you want to remember is if you are seeing some kind of post that would upset you, just remember that this person is not, when you look at social media, that is not our real lives, not even close. So they are, I will say this, if you are having a sad moment and you just need something to cheer you up, look at, do a Google search and look up how photographers do the visual effects of all those cool Instagram photos, because you'd be amazed. A lot of times it's like an empty soda cup with the bottom cut off that you took a picture through, and it looks like that tunnel, that cool halo, or, somebody is, It's amazing how uncomfortable when you actually look at the setup of those, it's smoke and mirrors, right? Smoke and mirrors. And but you are going to feel better. The other thing that I get is that you are going to feel like whatever is making you feel blue is finally over. It's almost like I'm hearing Brian McKnight's One Last Cry. One last cry. I'm going to give this one last cry, and then I am letting this go. So, you're going to be a little bit in that energy, but I don't want you to be afraid. The Three of Swords feels just kind of soft in this, and just remember that whatever you see on the internet is not all that it's trumped up to be. The other thing is that if you feel like if you're doing that internet, let me take 30 pictures to look and show you that I'm okay. Because one other way that I read this is that you might be in a little bit of a king's energy. If you're a woman in a king's energy, it might be you might be on the defensive because someone made you feel like you weren't good enough. Honestly, the best way to deal with that kind of energy, if you feel like, okay, well, I have to post this picture to show everyone that I'm okay, but really under the surface, you feel like you feel anxiety, you feel, upset, you're crying at night. Go ahead and unplug. And I know that's really hard to do. I'm not trying to preach at you, but really, getting away, just don't look at anybody. Don't even look at your own social media for 3 days. And honestly, you might have an excuse that, over the holidays, turn on holiday musics, redecorate the tree or wrap presents, do something to get your head away from this. But by the end of the week, you do have some bright energy. I do think that this might be just a little bit of sadness, but you're going to feel closure from it. And then the very next day, what I was giggling about is that it's funny. The other thing is that if this is a competition thing, like just to throw it out there, if you feel like you're in competition with someone either on social media, and I will just say this, I am getting a little bit of a vibe, like maybe your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend is posting pictures of them. It's like, look at me, I got money, look at this, I got a pretty girl, I got a pretty guy on my arm, and if it's making you feel like crap and making you cry, do this, okay? There is an episode of The West Wing, and I've been binge watching The West Wing, where there's this scene where, Josh Lyman sends a guy in a volunteer in a chicken suit to go heckle the candidate that Donna was supporting. And the chicken walks up, in the middle of a press conference and goes, "Why are you afraid to debate, Mr. Santos? Are you chicken?" And he did it very politely, but it was so funny. And what Donna does is she grabs the guy in the chicken suit, pulls him to the side and goes, "Do your parents know that you're doing this? If this is frat boy, pranks, you should be ashamed of yourself." And then the media is filming, like all these reporters are totally filming her reaming out a chicken. And I was laughing so hard because Josh is watching it on CNN, and CJ Creel, who's the Allison Janney, who is the White House press secretary, is also watching it, and she's talking to Josh, and she's like, "That is dignifying a weak opponent. Why is she engaging a chicken? You don't engage. Didn't you teach that girl not to engage a chicken?" And what I'm getting from that, long story, if someone's fanning out their feathers to try to ruffle your feathers, if they're trying to look like they're all that in a bag of chips in order to get to you, to make you feel bad, or to kind of, do something, or the moment that you feel like the only way that you can defend yourself is to kind of compete in that way, don't dignify a weak opponent. Don't do it. Don't engage a chicken. Don't engage a chicken in an argument, because there's a fanning of feathers there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to compete with that. And I think the biggest competition is silence. If someone is treating you that way or is trying to make you feel bad, go off the grid. That's completely okay. And the other thing that I get is by the end of the week, this is really a beautiful energy, guys, is that in the end of the week, you got the Hierophant crowned by the Page of Cups. So what I'm seeing here is that, again, if this is your energy, maybe you've been feeling kind of sad about something. Maybe you felt really separated from someone. But by the end of the week, there's going to be a very sweet message, a very sweet message. Now, this could be a friend. It could be a child. Again, anytime I see the Page of Cups, I always think, I have friends who have little ones, and gosh, they are just the sweetest thing. It never fails. Sometimes when you're in a bad mood, a little one will come up and give you a flower or do something, say something to you that just totally brightens your day. I remember one time I was standing in line for coffee. I was just standing in line for coffee, and this was back when days when things were normal. And I felt this little tug on my hand, and I looked down, and there was this little toddler. She couldn't be more than 2 years old, barely walking, had the little binky, and she had her juice box like tucked under her arm like a football. It was the most adorable thing I'd ever seen. And I got real nervous because she's holding my hand, and I'm like, oh my God, she thinks I'm her mom. Her mom's behind me. She grabbed the hand of the wrong person, standing in line to buy her apple juice. It was the most adorable thing ever. But I was just afraid that she was going to look up and get upset because she wasn't with her mom. And I looked back at her mom, and her mom's like, it's okay, go ahead, just tell her. And I looked down, I'm like, hello. And she just looked at me with the little baby Yoda eyes. And I was just like, honey, I think your mom's back there. And she just kind of nodded at me and walked back to her mom. And I was just like, oh my God. But it was like that little moment. I think you're going to get that little moment, and it's going to feel, the Hierophant is like it's going to feel like a blessing from God. It's going to feel like a blessing from God. I think that you are going to get some kind of sweet little moment, like a little one grabbing your hand while you're waiting in line for coffee, something like that. Something social distant friendly too. But I think you're going to feel much better, and definitely by the end of the week, you're just either that, or if this is your energy, I think that you're going to be more in touch with your emotions. It's almost like you're so up in your head. And again, there's nothing wrong with this energy. There's nothing wrong with looking good on your social media profile. But try not to let it rule your life. Competing, or quote unquote, putting things out there. The way I like to look at it is, are you making that post for yourself, or are you putting that post up for someone else? Right? If your goal in putting a picture on your social media is in order to, you know, if the goal of that is to have an impact or effect on someone, or if you think that someone did that to you, then that's social media starting to spiral into that negative, energy. It's a down spiral, not an up spiral, right? That's the purpose. Social media is wonderful. You get to see all the good memories. The other thing that I get is that maybe, after that encounter, by the end of the week, whether it's you trying to project your value and keeping I'm hearing stiff upper lip, and then you having a few sad days in the middle of the week. By the end of the week, I think that you're gonna start afresh, and it's gonna feel. I think you're gonna feel very vulnerable emotionally. I do think that you might have a good cry in the middle of the week, but it's almost like you wake up and you feel purged, right? You feel better. The other thing that I see with the Hierophant is when they do communion, they offer a cup, right? And here you have a cup. But the other thing that I get is that with the Page of Cups, there's always a fish popping out of the cup, which is a surprise. I also get a sense of, I think you're going to be surprised at how good you feel by the weekend, right? I think that the other thing I get is I do think that you're going to have it's almost like the universe is going to send you a moment that makes you feel much better. The other thing that I get is that I feel like you can be really open. I don't think that you're going to be in any of this guarded energy. It's going to feel like starting afresh, right? So I do think, starting the weekend, you're going to feel really good. It's really good. The other thing that I kind of get is that, if there was, any type of, conflict, or any type of, little bit of heartache, just lightly, I feel like it's a slight bruising. I don't think this is real strong energy. Um, I think that you're going to see the higher meaning in that, right? It's almost like it's, if anything, um, the other thing that it also could be is that sometimes the Page of Cups can be a very mild apology. Maybe someone was kind of acting out, and then by the end of the week, they see that it upsets you, and they come up and said, "Sorry, I was being a little bit of an asshole," So that the other thing is, I kind of think of that as a coming to Jesus meeting. That's kind of what I think of. So it's quite possible that someone reaches out to you. Um, um, Either that, or the other thing that I kind of see is that maybe if you have been in some kind of low energy, maybe you do go to church over the weekend, or you visit someone who's like a mentor to you, and they really get you to feel better. Maybe they have a small word of encouragement that's really, again, the other thing I get is it's almost surprising. I think the other thing I get is, I think you're going to find a mentor. I think you're going to find a spiritual mentor in a very surprising place. You know, again, it's going to be a little smile. It's going to be a little smile that really lifts your heart. Now, the two oracle cards that you got is, you got the Garden, which is celebration and new friendships, and you got the Fish, which is money, luck, and creative flow. So honestly, guys, you know what? This might be your energy. Maybe you do have a lot going on. The other thing that I kind of get is that maybe things are really going on an upturn with your career, but you almost feel like it's a facade. Like maybe you're like, the other thing I kind of get is that you don't want people to, you're afraid that people are going to find out that you're not as virtuous or not as wealthy as you portray. So again, I am getting a little bit of a keeping up appearances, but I do get the sense money, luck, and creative flow. I think that's you. I think that's you. And the Garden, celebration and new friendships. Again, I do sense that you're going to be around. You're going to be around people. The other thing that I kind of get from this is that if it is any social media shenanigans going on, um, it hurts, it stings when somebody proves themselves to be an unworthy friend. But just like with the world, the wheel's going to turn, and you're going to get over that really quickly. It's almost like, okay, well, that person wasn't my friend. That's okay. I think you're going to get back up on the horse. The other thing that I kind of get is that it's quite possible that maybe somebody is casting a little shade because you are doing well. You know how sometimes when you put those posts up that say, "Oh, look, I bought my new car," and someone's like, "Well, that's nice. You have money to buy a new car." It could be something like that. And that might hurt your feelings or cause a separation or a rift with someone. But I do get the sense that, anybody who would not be happy for you, you don't really want them to be in your circle, right? But I think by the end of the week, you are going to feel better. I think the other thing is, you might be doing something kind of emotionally creative that just kind of gets your mind off of all this. And so that is creative flow. The other thing is, you see the fish. You see the fish. Oh, there you go. Maybe the Page of Cups is you. But I do get a sense that it's going to be a sweet emotional moment that'll make you smile too. But well, guys, that's a good week. That's a good week, and please don't be intimidating. And if you do have more questions, please check out the How to Tarot on the King of Swords. The second part of it, like the last half of the how-to part, we do talk about the King, the card in reverse. So we'll go over that, and there's nuances to it, so it's good to know. All right, so last but not least, we got deck 3, which is the Slow Tarot by Lacey, Bryant. I do love this deck. All right, so deck number 3. What's your energy for the week? So what's going on with your week, deck 3? Okay, middle of the week. Ooh. End of the week. Oh. End of the week. Oh, cool. Okay, please clarify the Ace of Cups. The Seven of Cups really did want to pop out behind it. I'm kind of feeling like I should have taking that one. The Emperor is kind of popping out too. End of the week. All right, and let's go ahead and get your oracle cards. I'm going to get 2. Okay, that's our energy. Thank you. There's 1. That really popped. Oh, awesome. And, oh. Okay. All right, guys. This is interesting. This is really cool energy. Now, beginning of the week, this is kind of, it's a little bit of an echo of deck 1. We talked in deck 1 about how, this time of year, especially, regardless of what holiday you celebrate, right around the 12th to the 14th it's kind of the 12 days. It's the last 10 days, a week and a half before the holiday. And, the holiday is over a weekend. So a lot of people would be starting their vacations. One thing that I kind of see here that's similar to deck 1 is that I do kind of get a little bit of a workplace kind of thing. But what I'm kind of getting is, there's some workplaces that you might work in sales or something where you have a quota, and then, if you're wrapping up all of your cases, by the middle of December, then it's kind of like everything is just kind of coasting, nothing else really starts back up until after the new year. But what I kind of get here is that you've got the 7 of Wands and you've got the 3 of Cups. What I'm kind of getting is that I really get a sense that you might be resisting parties. Or you're trying to, the other thing I kind of get is that you're trying to balance, like you're trying to stay ahead of everything. Again, if you're in North America and if you're watching this at the time that the video posts, this year has been real challenging. There's been a spike in cases of for the COVID, and everybody is doing their best to try to isolate, even though it's a very busy social time of year. I get the sense that it's almost like I am getting a little bit like maybe this pile is the one who is trying to be very careful about germs. The other thing that I kind of get is that you're trying to keep one step ahead. If you ever watched that Disney movie, Aladdin, where he's like one step ahead of the woman, it's like, so I kind of read that one of two ways. You might have a lot of social activity going on where you're trying to keep one step ahead. You might really just feel kind of, as we all do, kind of lost in the hustle and bustle of this time of year. Maybe you feel like you're behind, or that, it's like, okay, I've got to bake cookies for this. I've got to wrap presents. I have to go shopping. I have to do this. And it just feels a little overwhelming. It feels like a lot to keep up with. The other thing that I kind of get is that I am getting a strong pandemic related, where it's quite possible that you might have friends or other people who are, going out or hosting parties, and you're really apprehensive about it. And what you're doing is you're trying to navigate, it's like an obstacle course. Is what I'm hearing. It's like an obstacle course where, I think you really do want to socialize. You would love to, the other thing I kind of get is that you would love to just, drop everything you're doing and kind of chill for a little bit. But I'm getting a sense that it's just, you've got too much to do. The one other thing that I kind of get is that I get a sense that maybe you feel like, there's some people who are just like relaxing while you're doing all the work. I am kind of getting a little bit of vibe from that. I am getting a little bit of a work related, which is weird because this is Wands and Cups, which is normally not so much work. It's not Pentacles. But what I'm almost thinking is, with this sky in the background, it's almost like, you know, you don't have, I'm getting a sense of urgency. So what might be happening is, maybe you've got some work that needs to be completed by a certain timeline, and you know that you're working on it, and then but you feel like everybody else is over in the break room, you know, uh, drinking cider and living it up, and you're over here, busted tail feather. So there might be a little bit of that, but I am getting more of a stronger sense that it's just the nature of the season. You have so much to do, and you feel like you're barely keeping ahead of it. I also do get a little bit of anxiety, because I'm getting that orangish sky looks like a kind of like danger, right? It doesn't look healthy. So the other thing that I'm kind of getting is that I think you are, maybe you're under a little bit more pressure, given that 2020 has been a year of making sure that you take extra precautions with everything that you do. Um, One other thing that you might be worried about is that, I do also see, because this is a child and this is adults, you might be worried about a young one. Again, with so many children learning, virtually, um, maybe you are worried about a little one. Maybe you feel like a little one is either struggling, or is trying to keep up. um, just one other way, just to throw it out there, you might be looking at a young child that you feel like their parents are really not helping them. The parents are having fun, but the child is struggling. So that might be like a concern for you at the beginning of the week. But for the most part, I just feel like, I do get a sense that you just feel like there's, for this time of year, and again, the beginning of the week is the countdown, right? It's the last 10 days before the holiday. So you might feel like, I do get the majority of the energy feels like, well, there's just so many celebrations going on, and I'm not even half done, and and I've got to wash my hands every 5 minutes, and I have to sanitize everything. I think you're just feeling a little overwhelmed and resistant. The other thing that I do get is that it's possible that you might be thinking of polite ways to decline social invitations. You might be telling, the other thing that I get is that you might be communicating with someone at the beginning of the week, hey, I can't come to Christmas, or I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it to that party, I've just got too much on my plate. You might be, explaining or conveying that to someone. Now, middle of the week is really interesting energy, guys. One other thing is, just to throw it out there as well, is that, if you are a guy watching this, I do, yeah, I am getting a strong sense, like, like you're really, you're struggling to keep ahead, and then there are other people who are just kicking back. It's like they're not even paying attention. But, middle of the week, this is really interesting. You got Judgment, which is really a beautiful card. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck. And at the root of it, you got the Queen of Wands. So Judgment's really beautiful. This is actually a picture of the artist. That's what Lacey Bryant looks like. She's a really beautiful lady. And I love the fact, because what she's doing is she's looking in a mirror, and there's a word for that when you see like a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. And she's got, she's wearing a slip, and it's almost like, it does look like she's scrutinizing her appearance. And she's got a beautiful white feather in her hair. And what's really beautiful about this, and actually in the background you do see like flames. It's almost like, it's like refracted candlelight. But and underneath it, you got, the root of it is the Queen of Wands. I do think in the middle of the week, um, One other way that I can kind of read this is in the beginning of the week, you might feel like you're keeping up with the Joneses. I'm kind of hearing that. Either that or you're resisting the Joneses or the Jones-isms. And maybe you feel like other people are, doing this for Christmas or doing that for Christmas, or, people are hosting this kind of party, or, again, I'm not expecting a whole lot of social interaction. I'm not condoning that. But, please be safe. But I'm getting a sense that when I see feathers, and actually I can just show you right now, when I go walking, I find white feathers. These are feathers that I found. And isn't that amazing, guys? Isn't that amazing? I almost want to put this feather in my hair right now. I always take it as signs from the universe, especially white feathers. I think of them like angel wings. And I feel like it's the universe kind of protecting you. The other thing is that I see it like encouragement, like they're sending you a sign, right? They're sending you a sign. And I think in the middle of the week, you're going to have an opportunity to do something really dynamic. Maybe people are throwing virtual parties, or you're doing some type of get together, virtual get together, and you really want it to be good, right? But I get this strong sense, like you almost feel like the Queen of Wands is dynamic. She knows she is a queen. Like she's got confidence, right? And the Judgment looks like you're lacking confidence. And the feather in her hair is almost saying the universe wants you to have confidence. The universe wants you to know you can do this, right? You can do this. The other way that I read it is that it's possible that you might be feeling judged by a Queen of Wands. Now, that's a little unlikely because usually the Queen of Wands is a very warm energy, especially in the upright. So I do kind of get more of a sense like this is like a test of your confidence. And I think that you're going to prevail. The other thing is that I think I'm getting a strong sense that like there's this call for you to shine your light. Because Queen of Wands shines bright, right? She walks into a room and everyone stops to look. She's got that confidence. And I just get this sense that in the middle of the week, it's almost like you're going to have that moment where you look in the mirror and you know your own worth. Or, I always talk about, maybe the other thing I always say, where they talk about one way to get instant confidence is to wear pretty underwear. You don't have to wear the itchy stuff, but just the underwear that looks good on you. And you know that you have it on under your clothes, right? But I think in the middle of the week that I think you're going to be really looking at yourself truthfully. Because that's the other thing about wands is the wands are very forthright. They're very honest, right? They're honest to a fault almost. But I think that in the middle of the week, you're going to be really... I think the universe is encouraging you to have confidence about something. If this is work-related, maybe it's telling you, because this is wands and this is wands, maybe it's telling you, yes, you can do this. You are good enough. You're more than good enough. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is that if this is work-related where you feel like I'm getting the sense that, not to sound strange, I'm hearing Hunger Games, and I don't mean to use that reference, but when you think about it, like everyone in the Capitol had fancy clothes and they're sitting back drinking champagne while they're watching these kids go through like an obstacle course, right? If you feel like that's been you, right? If you feel like, gosh, all I do is just the dirge, I spend my days toiling away, I think in the middle of the week, there's going to be a moment, maybe after a long, hard day. That's also what I'm kind of getting. Like after a long, hard day, you stop and you look at yourself in the mirror. And I think in that moment, again, with the feather, I think your guides, I'm hearing almost like your angels want you to tell yourself how beautiful you are. The other thing is maybe, put on clothes that make you feel good, because like she's wearing a slip, right? Which is like the base of your outfit. Whatever you put on over that slip is you could put on a sweatshirt and you can feel like you're, schlebbing it. Or you could put on a pretty blouse, a comfortable one that makes you feel really feminine. But I think there's going to be a moment in the middle of the week where you really look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how beautiful you are. I also get a sense that you're going to feel, I feel like, because flames are also a spiritual practice, like that's how you can connect to spirit guides. Not to get woo woo with you, you don't have to do that, but think about how warm it is when you light candles, right? But I feel like, again, it's like that inner flame of yourself. I think you're going to have that moment in the middle of the week, and I think you're really going to hear, if you do believe in spirit guides or ancestors or angels, they're really going to be whispering, in your ear, going, God, look at how good you look. Look at how beautiful you are. Even if even if your hair is all pulled up and you're feeling exhausted, I think you're gonna have some kind of minute. The other thing is that you might have another woman tell you that, um, either that or, again, because these are friends, it's quite possible that you might feel, and I don't feel like this is a strong competition, but it's almost like you feel like, gosh, all I do, and this year has been like that. It's been a hard year. It feels like we're just, we're barely showering. I think that you have a moment where it's like, oh gosh, my friend just always looks so much prettier. She gets up, she does her hair. Um, there's a moment that you might be kind of mentally comparing yourself, or your friend who's like a Queen of Wands energy really says something to you that makes you feel good. Like, and this could be a mom, it could be a family member or a friend. Maybe they look at you and they say, gosh, you have such beautiful eyes, or your hair looks so pretty when you do it like this. um, but I also get a sense this might be your energy, that you might be channeling your inner Queen of Wands. The other thing that I always say is, anytime the Queen of Wands comes up in a read, I always call it the made you look card. Sometimes when you get yourself all dolled up, and you walk past someone and their heads turn, you're like, made you look. So, but the Judgment is a calling. It's a calling. The other thing is that, I think it is telling you to see yourself clearly, and that the reflection in your mirror is a very strong and beautiful woman, dynamic woman, right? Like, you're not someone who, you're not just, you know someone who works all the time and never has fun. You are the out. The other thing is, I think it's like asking you to give yourself a little bit of praise. Um, and if this is some kind of call to do something, it's quite possible that you might have an idea about something very creative, and that makes you feel very empowered. Um, but the other thing that I kind of get is that it's possible that maybe you feel like other people are judging you, and then you kind of stand up for yourself, kind of stand in your power. Now, by the end of the week, this is really interesting. Now, the card that wanted to pop out was the Seven of Cups, and I kind of was, I was a little motivated to put it back, and I shuffled again, and I got the Four of Coins. But the Ace of Cups is a really gorgeous energy. It's like, I do see this, I see this as being your cup. I don't necessarily see this as being, it could be a new romantic relationship, but I'm really not kind of seeing that. Um, the other thing that I see with the Four of Coins is that, coins being what you value, you're holding on to what you value, right? The other thing is that I get that you're standing strong. You're standing firm in what you believe, right? And I think what you believe is what you see in the mirror, what you know yourself to be, right? Um, the other thing that I kind of get is that because pentacles are what you value, I think you're holding true to your values. Like, if, one thing that I am getting a little bit of a keeping up with the Joneses vibe. It's almost like in the beginning of the week, you feel like you're a little bit of the worker bee, or that, you're not the same as other people around you. Also, what I also get is that maybe you work really hard and you don't lighten up too much. And by the middle of the week, it's almost like, oh, okay, well, everyone was at the Christmas party and I was over in my cubicle just working away. And then by the middle of the week, you come home tired, you're changing your clothes, and you're like, well, why can't I be like those other ladies? Why didn't I? What? I think it's a lot of like self-reflection I'm hearing, but I think that it's going to give you a new perception of yourself. I think also that you're going to give yourself permission to kind of shine. But I definitely get a sense, like, I feel like your angels, your ancestors, your guides are really with you. They want you to be confident. I think I keep hearing they want you to see how beautiful you are. They want you to acknowledge how gorgeous you are. The other thing is judgment is like, wake up, wakey, wakey. You're the queen. You're the queen of wands. Um, and it's almost like she has a dress on just like all these other ladies, right? I feel like it's almost telling you that you can not only be like other people, you can shine brighter than other people. You got it. I think it's something about this situation in the beginning of the week is making you question whether or not you can be as cool or as feminine, honestly, as other people. The other thing I love about the Queen of Wands is she's a strong queen for being as beautiful as she is. She's not passive, but she's very attractive. But I think by the end of the week, I think what it is that you're going to retain, like, the Four of Pentacles is holding on to what you value, right? So I think what it's telling you is that, you can fill your own cup. You can be social, you can be creative, you don't have to work all the time, you can be fashionable. Whatever it is that you're seeing in other people that you want to see reflected back at you, you are all that and more. You just kind of have to fill your own cup. And I think by the end of the week, you're realizing that. Maybe you take a day off. Maybe you actually say, okay, I'm going to go to the party. I'm not going to sit in my cube. I'm going to go to the party. But the other thing that I kind of get from this is that it's almost like you saying, okay, well, all these women look beautiful. I look a mess. Then look at all these people. I'm not the same. I'm less. Then you give yourself kind of a mental makeover in the middle of the week, and you say, okay, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to be. Let me be this. And then you get yourself all dolled up, and you're like, well, I'm still me. Those coins, that what I value is still within me, but I am going to put a nice dress on. I'm going to put my jewelry on, and I'm going to fill my own cup, right? So I do feel like it's almost like you're going to feel like a fresh start to the you that you want to show the world. And I do get a sense of a break too. I get a sense of a break. I think that, maybe you've had a few long days at work, and believe me, I know that feeling where you just come home and you just look in the mirror, you're like, oh my God, I can't even look at myself. The other thing is that, try to pamper yourself. Maybe, if it's been a while since you've done a face mask, or you've really gotten a chance to deep condition your hair, or, to put on makeup. Oh my gosh. It's funny. I actually put on mascara. It wasn't even the full face. It was just some mascara. And I'm like, oh my God, I have eyelashes. I'm so pretty, do something like that for yourself, really. But the two cards that you got is you got the horse, which is like the rider. It's kind of good news coming from afar. And then you did get the whip, which is conflict and irritation at home. So one other way that I can kind of read this is maybe when I see the whip, I don't necessarily, what it means is it means repetition, right? So one other way that I can kind of read this is that maybe you feel like you're doing all the work at home, and it does. I'm getting a sense of the dirge, like it's just, it's like Groundhog's Day. It's the same thing. I get up, I disinfect the house, I do the laundry, I walk the dog, I do this. And but one other thing that I get is that you might very well have some kind of message from a Queen of Wands character, like somebody, like a dynamic woman in the middle of the week. And, the cups are a new start. It's like a new emotional start. But 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 the, you know, there might just be, when I see the whip and good news, what I'm kind of seeing is it's almost like good news, like you're not going to be in this obstacle course forever. I do think that this week you are going to get a little bit of a reprieve. You might feel, um, again, I'm also feeling like you're holding down the fort, because that's the traditional Seven of Wands. It's like you're just holding everything down and you're kind of getting exhausted. Um, but the good news can be your own internal guidance, or it could be the other thing that I'm kind of seeing, which is really amazing, guys, is that you see how in the Four of Pentacles she's got her hand fanned out like that, and it looks like the rays. um, what I'm kind of seeing is that you might very well, you might have been kind of concerned about holding on to money, and and you might have some good news. The other thing is that the colors are very similar. You got a lot of greens and purples and magentas here. Um, that there might be some good news regarding something that would make you really happy. Maybe that's a different job position, or maybe something voluntary. The other thing I'm kind of getting is that maybe you have been offered something, because judgment is a calling. It's a calling. And maybe you feel like, oh gosh, I don't look the part, or I wouldn't be able to do this. And the universe is totally telling me, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And the other benefit is that it would be very fulfilling. And you might need to budget a little bit with your money, to go in this new direction. But it's the other thing that I'm kind of getting is that, by the end of the week, I think you're still hesitant. I think you're very cautious before you do things. The other thing is that, if you are getting some good news, it might be coming. The Queen of Wands is a real enthusiastic person. You see the look on her face. It's just like, hey, do you want to come do this volunteer work? I know this is something that you love. Come join me. And you're just looking in the mirror like, a little, hunched over shoulders, like, oh God, can I do this? Can I do this? This is what I want to do. So I think that you might be a little hesitant because you're afraid, but I think that's going to transition into this a really wonderful feeling of, yes, let me try this out. Um, but the other thing is that I don't see whip as like really bad irritation. I'm thinking more repetitive. Thinking more repetitive, and I'm really getting the sense it's almost like you've had to resist, or you've had to keep up. And I am almost getting a little bit of cleaning the house, and just all the extra responsibilities that we have right now. I think it's making us all feel really worn out. And then when you finally get some good news that feels like a normal, fun thing to do, you almost question it, like, oh God, can I even do this? Do I look human anymore? Can I be seen in public? But but that's a really beautiful week, guys. And the Ace of Cups, the end of the week, and good news coming from afar. And definitely, you're going to retain all of your values. Everything that is you is not going anywhere. You're just gonna kind of have permission to glow, right? But wow, guys, so that's a really beautiful week. That's really pretty energy. And I thank you so much for joining me. And again, if you like, we are continuing with the How to Tarot on Tuesday. We are talking about the last card of the sword suit. We are talking about the King of Swords. And then also, if you want to join me a few days later, December 16th is Jane Austen's birthday, and I'm gonna do a relationship pick-a-pile. So it's gonna be several piles, and I'm gonna be showcasing my Jane Austen decks. I have 4 of them. That, playing cards, Lenormand, Oracle, and Tarot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the piles using those cards, so you can pick your pile and have a lovely relationship read. So I hope that you can join me then, and that you have a really great week, and I'll catch you later. Bye.